Hello and welcome along to episode 335 of the Total Saints podcast, your home for all things Southampton Football Club. Before we start, as always, a huge thank you to our TSP Patreon community because we couldn't make the show each week without your support. Thanks this week to Matt Prince, aka Shropshire Saint, a new patron this week in the TSP supporters tier. So thanks again. We really appreciate your support. Coming up this week on the podcast, it was 2 away games, trips to Sheffield United and Derby County, 4 points the return. But is that good enough? And why was it such hard work? There's plenty to discuss after the 2-1 win at United and the 1-1 draw with Derby. My name is Martin Stark. Joining me this week, Glenda LaCour, writer of the blog League One -10. Alfie House is senior Southampton reporter for the Daily Echo and presenter, reporter and podcaster. Martin Sanders, a.k.a. Football Martin, is joining us as well. There's loads to talk about. So let's crack on, and you can dress it up however you like, but that was a disappointing result at Derby. 1-1 the final score. We saw Ross Stewart limping off again as well. A game that threw up more questions than answers, Glenn. When you take the lead early on against a side that have been struggling for form, you kind of expect you might hold on and maybe win.
Well, at the point where we went ahead, our sort of front three at the time, which was Stewart, Armstrong, Cienza, I thought that's the best we've looked up front for years. I thought it would, I just thought the three of them were absolutely on fire. The caveat of that is that Derby's defending. You had Sanderson with all the hair and Clark without any hair. A dreadful centre-back combination. So, but anyway, we were ripping them to shreds. And at the point where we scored, which was obviously Adam Armstrong bundling through 4 half-assed tackles, I kind of thought, another goal and these will go under and we'll bury these. But as we know, our attack got gradually worse as the game went on. I mean, starting off with Ross Stewart getting injured and switching Armstrong into the middle, where, as we all know, he's not as effective. And then the substitution on the hour mark, which was absolutely baffling. And I'm sure we'll talk about that separately. But we basically decided to play with 10. And the attacking effort just kind of died completely, just gradually died off in the second half. And I think the second half we had one shot on target, and that was the 95th minute, was it, from Fellows, which was kind of didn't have very much conviction in that. But yeah, we 100% should have won the game. Derby weren't very good, but we weren't either. As a team, I just didn't think. Once that initial attacking impetus wore off, as a team, we weren't great. We scored the goal. We just sort of died for 5 minutes, allowed them to get back in it. McCarthy had to keep us in the game, or had to keep us in front. A couple of really good saves, but the defending throughout from us, I thought, was very, very ropey. The 3 central defenders seemed to be too close together. Ryan Manning defensively was appalling. Absolutely appalling, and he was at Sheffield as well. He's been good going forward this season, but it's like he's forgotten to put the effort in defensively. I just, if the fullback you're supposed to be marking gets in about 10 crosses in the first half, there's obviously something you're not doing right. And he compounded it with the equalising goal. Whether it flicked off him or whether it didn't, you get on with the game, which is what you learn when you're about 8. You play to the whistle, get on with the game. So for him to just stand there arguing with the linesman when the throw-in is taken, crossed into the box, and it's a header from 6 or 7 yards, and that was Derby's equaliser. I mean, in the second half, I thought we were largely dreadful because we had no real sort of like attacking. You've got to maintain an attacking threat. We defended reasonably okay in the second half, I guess, but we still coughed up the 2 sort of biggest chances, and McCarthy had to keep us in it again. So it was a real mishmash of a performance. That Ross Stewart, he had to play because the other options have proven to be terrible. In an ideal world, we wouldn't play him 3 games in a week, but I think there's a reason why we had to. But it was it was unfortunate what happened. Obviously, hopefully the international break gives him a bit of time to recover. But given his track record, he doesn't seem to do 1 week injuries, does he? So it wouldn't be surprising if it's a long one. But yeah, it was a strange game, and like the Sheffield game, I don't think we managed it particularly well in the second half. And some of the substitutions have been a bit random. It worked in our favour in Sheffield, but the random subs against Derby certainly didn't work in our favour. So much to go through and much to learn.
It was a decent start, Alfie, as Glenn says. Obviously, Adam Armstrong, you've talked about him playing in those pockets and coming in from the right. And to be fair to him, it was a great start, well taken goal. But then it just kind of went downhill from there, really.
Yeah, 3 goals in 4 games for Adam Armstrong, all of them in that right-hand position, I guess. Well, one from the left in the previous game. But yeah, the first sort of 30 minutes, aside from the 5-10 minute wobble that Glenn mentioned, was very good. They look like a team that have an idea how to play. Obviously, Ross Stewart's a big part of that. And it does leave Will Still with a big problem if he's not available, because, he had 2 strikers on the bench, Cameron Archer and Damien Downs. And when he loses number 9, he brings on a winger instead, because he knows that the 2 strikers he's got aren't very good, or certainly not very good in the way that he wants to play. And if we're without Ross Stewart, he needs to think of a solution, to do that. For me, I've been a big sort of proponent of the 3 at the back, and I've been saying that ultimately Saints have been better in that formation. They've created more chances. They've looked more solid. I do think that may have to change now. If there's no Ross Stewart, I don't think you can play this system with Cameron Archer up front or Adam Armstrong up front. And I think maybe now you bring in an extra attacking player. Obviously, left out Tom Fellows and Finn Azaz at Derby. Brought them both off at half-time against Sheffield United, and then left them out the team completely on this one. Obviously, Tom ends up coming on pretty early on because of the injury. But I think that, I like the fact that he's willing to make a bold change, and he's not just sort of playing the 2, big money men because he has to, or because Johannes Spors will be annoyed or Dragan will be annoyed. He's making his own decisions. But I do feel that maybe go to a 4-2-3-1 now, bring Finn Azaz back in his sort of natural number 10 position, allow him to float a little bit and not have too many responsibilities, and bring Tom Fellows high up the pitch. And unfortunately, it means playing Adam Armstrong back up front, which, it's not good for Adam. It's not good for the team. But there's nobody else that can do it. Damien Downs is proven now that, it's not his fault. It's not his fault, but he's just not good enough. He's not ready right now. And the manager's been let down there. And Cameron Archer, he's sat on the bench on both the games. Did he come on in either game? He came on towards the end at Sheffield United, actually.
Yeah, not long
and that was
enough,
part of and that was part of the problem, because that last 10 minutes was absolute chaos. Saints were just sat back. They couldn't get up the pitch. Everything was going wrong. They just could not get hold of anything, which is why I think Will still included Damien Downs in the squad at Derby, because he wasn't even in the squad at Sheffield United. But that last 5-10 minutes, I think, spooked him into thinking, I need a direct replacement for Ross Stewart. I need somebody who can head the ball, who can hold it up a little bit. And obviously, people will say Damien Downs can't head the ball. He can't hold it up. But statistically, his numbers, he can't. But his numbers are better than Cameron Archer's. They are better than Adam Armstrong for that. He gives you a fighting chance of doing that. He didn't do it this time, obviously, and that was a massive problem. And he won't get another chance again, I don't think, for a while. But that's the reason, I think, why Damien was on the bench in the first place. But it did mean that Cameron Archer was sat there on his Todd all game. He didn't even come on.
It feels cruel to me putting Damien Downs in those situations when we've all been saying this guy just needs a bit of time away from the team, because it's got to be destroying his confidence. And that's probably one for in a minute. Martin, I just want to get your thoughts on the game. Obviously, as we said, started well. Ryan Manning arguing the toss when he should have been facing up to that free kick. So many things just not clicking yesterday. Frustrating.
Yeah, because we start the game and we're out the traps and we look good. We're free flowing. And you've not really seen that from us at all this season. We haven't been free-flowing, not really. We've not really played well for a 45-minute stint. We're certainly nowhere near it for 90 minutes. We've not been consistent for a game, and I think that needs to change really, really quickly. Ryan Manning annoyed me at times yesterday, his positioning sense. I just don't think, and I'm with Alfie and I back him up big time, I think that the wing-backs, I think it's probably time to scrap it now without Ross, because it just doesn't. I think with Fraser and Manning, I just don't think they're so concerned of people going in behind them all the time, and they can't get up the field enough. They don't offer enough of a threat in the final third. And he was arguing with the linesman. I watched him do it, and he was continuing. They totally switch off. Ronnie Edwards is quite flat-footed, and they were just caught off guard. But again, we've been bullied by a big striker in the box, which is not good enough. Will still said weeks ago, that to win football games, you've got to be good in both boxes. And we're neither at this moment in time. We're not good enough in our box and we're not good enough in the opposition's box. I thought Roscoe started well. I thought he was good, Stuart. It was always a massive ask. They've really protected him up until this point, not to play him too much. And he obviously started to find a bit of form. And I think he was damned if he did yesterday and damned if he didn't, because if he dropped him, he was going to be called out. He's got momentum. You've got to keep it going. But he was never going to play 3 games in a week, I don't think. And he played pretty much all the game on Tuesday. It was a big ask for him. And the minute he went down, we never looked the same team when he went off. And we touched upon Damien Downs. So I just want to say, and maybe a bit outspoken, but the recruitment's just not good enough there. If you're a serious contender for the top 2, you have to go and sign a striker that's going to be good enough for the here and now, not a project for next year, the year after, to turn into money. You need someone for the here and now if you're serious about the top 2. And we won't be anywhere near the top 2 from what I've seen so far. I'm totally honest. I've got to be honest. I just don't see us being there, Martin. But the recruitment, he's been let down, Will, with Damien Downs, and he needs taken out the firing line, because if we're not careful, it will kill him.
The players, Glenn, that have got the championship experience, you look at Finn Azaz and Tom Fellows. As we said, that's £20 million worth of summer signings dropped to the bench. Our bench yesterday was probably worth about 100 million quid, I think. So is it not his job now to try and fit these people in and try and get a tune out of them? Because we're looking at Finn Azaz coming back in for the Swansea game, it'd be, and he's not exactly set the world on fire.
No, well, there's 2 ways of looking at it. You've answered your own question there. Finn Azaz has not done anything yet. So why just because he cost 12 million quid or whatever, why does he deserve to start a game? I think Tom Fellows has been unlucky. I don't know if it's because I think he's been decent. I don't have any issue with the way he's played. I think he does what he does. He gets the ball down, he runs at defenders, he gets crosses in, and he hasn't scored a goal yet, but he was never particularly a goal scorer anyway. I think he's been a victim of the chopping and changing of formations. We know Will still would prefer to play a 4-2-3-1, but he hasn't been able to do that more, because on the times that he has played that, we've not looked anything like a decent team. But absolutely. I wonder if it's, I'm beginning to think it's not really about formations. It's down to individual players doing, playing with a bit of urgency and a little bit of intensity. I mean, that first 20 minutes, I mean, when Stuart was on the pitch, I just thought, we're right on it here. There's attacking intensity. There's people. It all centered around Cienza picking up the ball and knocking it quickly and using the ball well. Armstrong looked lively. Stuart looked lively. I mean, he had it. I mean, he was on the pitch for 20 minutes. He had the 2. He had the header that nearly went in. I mean, we'll get onto the Sheffield game. I mean, there was he could have scored 5 in that game. I mean, how many times have we had a striker being a threat on the goal, sort of like 5 times in one game? It just hasn't happened for a Saints striker like that for a long, long time. So it's just a real shame that he gets fit and starts to look really good. And he started the game really well yesterday, and then the injury happens, and all the problems start again. But going back to the original question about Azaz and Fellows, yeah, in an ideal world, they both be showing the form why we bought them. Azaz in particular, he did show a lot. He showed a lot more urgency in that Middlesbrough game against his former club. But he's been brought in to get goals and assists. That's why we signed him. That's the reason, to be the creative player that that unlocks the door for himself and for others. And he hasn't done it yet. And I would say Cienza, in the minutes that he's played, has looked a much better option. Whether you can get both of them on the pitch at the same time,
you definitely can.
Yeah, and Fellows as well. You'd have to change the formation.
Yeah, and that's why I said about the formation change.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's not about formation, about the be all and end all, or we're not playing well because we're in a free or whatever. But a formation is just a vessel to get your best players onto the pitch at the right time. And now we've lost a striker. You can afford to have Cienza, Azaz, and Fellows on the pitch at the same time, and Armstrong, because Armstrong go up front. Yeah. I don't think we can do Armstrong, Cienza, and Fellows, and then have sort of 6-7 defensive players as well, if that makes sense. I think you need to have that extra one.
I agree with you. I mean, we're now playing Yanda in midfield, Maybe that's something you might have to revisit. But Charles and Downs, when they've played together, it hasn't worked.
No.
So I mean, there's also, if you go to a back four, you've got Yella, who looked, I don't know how you pronounce it, I might be wrong.
We haven't seen him since the
he looked tremendous
game,
in that Liverpool game.
Yeah, we haven't seen him since.
But if we go to a back four, Ryan Manning's got to defend again, and I know at wing backs you're supposed to push forward a little bit more, but he would have to defend properly in a back four, and the last two games from him have been alarming. So, there's lots of players there who you would think should be playing, but there's not many who are really sticking their hand up to say, I should be an automatic choice in this team. I mean, we mentioned this last week. You got Shay Charles, who's playing well virtually every game. Nathan Wood, he wasn't as great yesterday, but he had a good game against Sheffield. And Adam Armstrong's got himself in there now, and Ross Stewart had until that injury. But lots of the others. But that's what Will Still's paid the money to get a tune out of this squad that he's got. But I still maintain we've got a squad of 25, and they're pretty all of a muchness, pretty much in terms of ability. But
I was actually going to say this on Twitter yesterday, Glenn, because a lot of people are getting angry about their chosen flavour of the day not playing and stuff like that. And it's like, I get it, but the best player is the one who sat on the bench when you don't win. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone says, you got to bring the player on, but because you haven't won the game. But no one's saying that when you do win the game. And I think, there's a lot of muchness there. There's a lot of good players, and they all play a lot of different positions. Like, we're talking about Ryan Fraser. Why is he playing right wing back? Ryan Fraser sees himself as a right wing back. He's told Will Steele, I want to play right wing back. He sees himself as a right wing back and a number 10. He doesn't see himself as a left winger. That's why he's been playing there. And there's a lot of stuff that you obviously don't see behind the scenes and things like that. I think people obsess too much about the flavour of the day not getting on the pitch at one time. How much difference would it actually have made? Who knows?
Well, he's got a couple of weeks to sort it out, Martin. I don't know how many people are going away, but it's another 3-game week after the break. So they're going to have to work bloody hard during this international break. And he's going to have a long, hard think about what his preferred 11 would be.
Yeah, I don't think he knows his 11.
Well, we don't. We'd all disagree, I guess, on it, wouldn't we, if we go through it?
Yeah, the one thing we cannot afford to do is start the next block of fixtures like we did against Portsmouth. But you just can't. The game against Swansea, we will have to be so much better. Unfortunately, that game, it left a bit of a hangover. I don't care what anyone says it, but it did. And we went to Hull and we were just terrible. And we huffed and we puffed against Borough. Really got it over the line against Sheffield United. It was a decent result, but we're going to have to get a bit more free flow, and we're going to start having to have a go at teams. We just don't get players in and around the box quite enough for me. Like, we don't transition back to front quite quick enough, and I think he needs to find a way to do that. Like, the amount of times Fraser and Manning got the ball yesterday on the halfway line, looked and went backwards. It constantly happened.
Well, I think Alfie was pointing out yesterday about the amount of passes in our own half. Yeah, with we're still knocking the ball around in our own half with zero impact.
Yeah, they just turn back and go back inside all the time instead of just getting down the byline and trying to get crosses in. You've even seen fellows now got to the stage where once Ross was not there, he's just going to dribble inside. He doesn't want to go outside and get a crossing because he knows there's no one to get on the end of it. He's bought as a winger to get balls in the box, but now he's dribbling inside all the time and he gives the ball away a bit and he's getting frustrated with himself a little bit now. So, hopefully Ross isn't out for long, but when he does injuries, it looks like it could be a period of time. So he's going to have to find another way to go at things. And I think the game against Swansea after the break is huge. It's a big game because we need to start that next block of fixtures really well and give everybody around the fan base a little bit of confidence that we're going to kick on. Because at the moment, I walk away from every game feeling the same, and I felt the same as I did yesterday. I have done a lot of weeks. I just feel it's just something not quite right. We're just not quite clicking. But we're 9 games in now. It's somewhere. It needs to click if we're going to be serious contenders at the top end of the league.
Is it our expectations, Glenn, that are a little bit too high? I mean, you talk about a lot of people are going, well, I think the fan base is probably divided at the moment. He's got to win us over. We are where we are. It ain't clicking at the moment. So is it about us? Is it about we're not getting rid of the manager? So do we have to accept that it's about a bit of consolidation and actually if we do scrape the playoffs, happy days? Is it people are still a little bit entitled and thinking that we're going to walk the league?
Well, I hope no one's thinking we're going to walk the league because we're clearly not going to. But last time we got relegated, we went straight back up. So that's kind of the benchmark that people are looking at. In fact, I mean, last time we were in the Championship, and we went straight through it. I don't think we've spent consecutive seasons in the Championship since 2000 and whatever.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
So it's quite a long time ago. So there is an expectation to be near the top of the league. I think at the start of the season, we thought Leicester would finally get their points deduction and Ipswich would be decent and Saints would be vying for second place, third place, whatever. But at the moment, as Martin said, it's not quite clicking. And when you see teams like Coventry, who weren't really anywhere last year, having knocked in 27 goals or whatever it is, they won 4-0 and 5-0. Yeah. But I mean, to be honest, we're playing Swansea. We beat them 5-0 in the season we got promoted, and then we beat someone else 4-0 a week later. So that's the sort of form that you need to get into. But as Martin was saying, we just don't look like
we're not scoring 5 goals against
without
Swansea
Ross
this year.
Stewart. We don't look like score. And here we are talking about a player who's been injured for 3 years.
Yeah, in the final year of his contract, and
but he just provided that little bit of hope for a second, and then just when you think it's all right, we're going to win this game, this will be nice. The injury happens again. It's tough. But I mean, just on the recruitment of Damien Downs, 2 years in a row, we've gone out and bought a striker for £7 million. Ben Barrett and Diaz and Damien Downs are the two strikers we bought for £7 million. If you buy players for £7 million, if you buy 6 players for that amount of money, 1 might be half decent, 2 might be average, and 3 are just going to be drawing wages for 4 years and no good to anyone. And taking that gamble as the central striker is mad, and we don't seem to ever learn. We don't seem to ever learn. We just sort of we always go for, if we had 40 million to spend, we'll buy 6 players rather than buying 2 with a bit more of a chance of one of them being decent. But
that's the strategy, isn't it? Then you sell them on for a profit in a couple of years' time.
You think we're going to sell Damien Downs for a profit?
I'd be very surprised. But that's the kind of business model, isn't it? They play well for us for a couple of seasons. We're already talking about Shay Charles not being with us next year if he has a good season this year. That's kind of what they want, but it's going to catch up with you eventually.
It is the business model, but then it can quite often go wrong. It's a gamble. If you sign a cheap player, basically, I mean, if it goes the wrong way, we get the situation that we've got now, where you pretty much can't put him on the pitch again until you're pretty sure he's not going to embarrass himself.
Yeah,
I mean, he's had an hour on the pitch against Liverpool and against Derby yesterday, and the stats are something like he's retained possession twice in an hour. I mean, that's so bad, and I feel sorry for the lad, but he's just like total rabbit in the headlights, and that is unfortunately what you're going to get if you try, on occasions, if you try and go down the cheap route too often. So yeah, there you go.
I don't know what's next for him. Let's talk about some of the positives, though. Alfie, Alex McCarthy, I thought was pretty decent. I was thinking we've got our first choice keeper now. I noticed that Will still said afterwards it's useful to have him there for this sort of game, kind of like alluding to the fact he might chop and change. But I thought that was a decent performance from McCarthy.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like him to be a little bit less busy than he is, for sure. But I think Glenn said it in the opening monologue, there's not a lot more to say about him, really, because he just makes the saves that you expect him to make, and he is what he is as a player. It's a sort of a strong right arm that just seems to be protruding through a crowd of players constantly and just saving Will Steele a little bit at the moment. And the diving save, we get the right arm over in the second half. It makes it look great as well. So yeah, Alex McCarthy, there's no... maybe he
Punches
could
as
have.
well.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
going to say maybe he could have maybe saved one of the goals he conceded in the last week, either other game. But his command of the area and the control, and particularly yesterday, as Glenn said, like actually coming out and punching balls, just it must give everybody a sense of calm and relief. And I think even Kasper Yander said to me after the game that he would say this, but he says he's a really good goalkeeper and that he calms people down. And when you have someone like that behind you, it just makes everybody play a little bit better. So hopefully he can make everybody play even better, and we can finally win a game. That'd be nice. But yeah, no complaints of Alex McCarthy. He's their first choice goalkeeper, and he will be for a while now.
They're just saving a lot of money on the clean sheet bonuses, aren't they? What was the mood like afterwards, Martin? Were you chatting to people after the game? Divided,
I didn't do a lot.
Split opinions?
Yeah, I stopped at services on the way back, and I travelled with a group of friends, and yeah, everyone was really flat. Really, everyone's really disappointed, and yeah, I think we were all waiting. I think we all went there, and you hear what the Derby podcasters were saying, you saw what the press was saying, and there was a he was under a little bit of pressure, Eustace, in terms of like playing a low block at home and not having to go at sides. But I think we were all surprised at the fact that Derby came out and had a proper go. Credit to them. I thought that after they conceded, they had a right go at us. They played some good football. Aguiman that played up top, he would have been a decent signing. He looks ready for the Championship. At least they've got a striker that's ready for the Championship. Hull City a couple of weeks ago, McBurney, he's ready for the Championship. He's an absolute steal from Las Palmas. He was, absolute steal. And this is the sort of players that thrive at this level. It's a tough league, isn't it? You can't rock up anywhere.
It's easy to say it now, Martin. I mean, Aguiman is a American international striker who cost £7 million. So it's easy to say, these are the type of players we should buy. But I mean, we literally bought one of those and he's terrible. So it's easy to say that.
But the scouting's got to be better. Surely someone scouted this boy and they've not scouted him properly, because you only have to go and look at Damien Downs' clips to realise he's not got the greatest touch. He played a very minimal amount of football. He's too raw. I think they've got to make they've obviously got better scouts than us, in my opinion. But you have to scout better if you want to be a top end Championship side. And at the end of the day, we pay for it. We will pay for it because we won't go up if we're not careful. And that will cost everyone a lot of money. It will cost the club a lot of money. And where does it leave us financially? Somebody said in the comments, where will it leave us financially if we don't go up? So for me, it's important that we're right in the mix, and that you run a games away from doing it, aren't you? That's the key. You just got to find a run of games. I don't know where the goals are going to come from there.
Is it over 100 points still to play for, or something like that? Well, I mean, we're in danger of, I guess, Glenn, we're in danger of just talking about it for the sake of it. But it kind of struck me that we've got one of the highest paid managers in the league, one of the most expensive squads in the league. So it's okay for us as fans that pay to go every week to challenge him and ask a few questions and maybe expect a little bit more.
Well, I think it's always okay to challenge people, and with the money that has been spent on the squad. I don't really think too much about managers' wages. I really don't care. But there is an expectation to be better than we are. Basically, it's not quite there at the moment. I mean, what I will say, I said last week that we wanted 4 points from these two games. But for me, Sheffield United, having got the 3 there, and I think that Sheffield United will finish higher in the league than Derby, having got the 3 points there, I was expecting 3 against Derby as well, and we've got 1. If Will still did make a good point, and we've proved it on air by being bloody miserable about a draw against Derby. If it had been the other way round, we'd drawn with Sheffield United and beaten Derby, everyone would probably be a little bit more optimistic, simply because of the recency and the way people's brains tends to work. But that that isn't the case. So yeah, I don't think there's any harm in expecting more than what we're getting at the moment. But you do have to be realistic. Martin said it again. The Championship is a tough league. No one wins the league by the 5th of October, which is where we are now. There are teams up near the top now that won't be there. I mean, everyone was raving about Middlesbrough a week ago, and they just lost to Portsmouth, for Christ's sake. So no disrespect. Yeah, disrespect meant that. But,
plenty of disrespect.
Plenty of disrespect meant that. But I expect they'll be miserable just talking about that game because it's the last one. But that shouldn't take away that they've had decent results before this. So we've taken 5 points from our last 3 games, and it's Middlesbrough at home and 2 away games. So yeah, it's not the end of the world, but we just need to be a little bit better, a little bit more consistent, and we got to, as Alfie has said, just need to maintain the attacking threat throughout games, and he has to find a way to to keep us as a goal threat throughout these upcoming games, especially if he's, as expected, he's got the challenge of Ross Stewart not being there.
I did read yesterday, someone said we could be at the start of our next unbeaten 25-game run and we just don't know it. And I thought that was like the ultimate glass half full. Apologies, I should have noted down who said that. But anything else on Derby before we move on? Any other observations from those that were there and watched the game?
I was impressed with Leo Senza. I thought he played well. He tired a bit, but he's a good. I think a lot of fans were furious when he came off.
I assume he went off just because the data was showing that he was tired, or
yeah, he looks a good player though, doesn't he?
But...
I thought he looked a good player. I just like the way he uses the ball. There was one sort of lovely run in the second half where he just sort of like drifted past 3 or 4 players, and I thought that's a really good play. And actually, on that occasion, he did mess up the pass, but so that throws that theory out the window. But no, I thought he made everything tick in the first half in particular, and the combination of him and Stewart and Armstrong, as I said, that looks like a first choice combination to me. But obviously, it's all gone with the wind now, so we have to find something different. But I think, yeah, he certainly played well enough to stay in the team, in my opinion. But whether he will or not, we'll see.
Yeah, I definitely think he should stay in the team for sure, 100%.
Yeah,
whatever shape they play, he'd be my first choice on the left.
We'll go on to the Sheffield United game in just a moment. I just want to say every weekend we've been running our TSP weekend giveaway. You might have seen this on social media. It's where you can win some merchandise from the shop if we pull off a win. So the merchandise has been stacking up because we've not been able to send any of it out because we haven't had the win. But this week we decided to scrap the conditions and decided to give a mug away anyway. So congratulations to Rich, who entered over on Blue Sky. We sent you a DM on there, Rich, so check your inbox and we'll get that posted to you soon. If you follow us on all the socials, it's at Total Saints Pod. Going to be giving out merch, hopefully more weekends than not this season. So if you see something on there that you like, we've also got free delivery on there all weekend using the code free delivery at shop.totalsaints.co.uk. So to get involved, give us a follow, a like and a share, and keep your eye on the weekend giveaway posts because you could be getting a shout out and maybe winning yourself a mug or a hoodie. And it was a win on the road at Sheffield United, 2-1, the final score, but it wasn't an easy watch, was it, Alfie? Off the back of the Ryder Cup at the weekend, I was hoping for something a little bit easier to watch, but it kind of felt we were lucky to get away with all 3 points, really.
Yeah, am I still am I muted? Yeah, cool, I am. The last 10 minutes I already touched on in the previous segment. It was a real backs to the wall job. He named an unchanged team again, which I think we were probably all expecting, possibly off the back of that Middlesbrough game, and that meant continuing with sort of Tom Fellows in this sort of hybrid wing back role, and playing as sort of a winger in possession. Obviously, Ross Stewart did the incident where he scored 2 goals, probably for the first and hopefully not last time in a Saints shirt. I thought on the day, Shea Charles played really well, Casper Yander played really well, Nathan Wood was brilliant on the day, as he has been in every game. But yeah, that last sort of 10, 15 minutes, I mean, it's hard to talk about now in retrospect because it hasn't done what it could have done. But it felt like maybe getting over the line in that would have just sort of galvanised the team a little bit. And maybe it did too there with the first sort of 10 minutes of the game. But we had Adam Armstrong missing a penalty right before half-time as well. We had, which was a shocking penalty, by the way. We had Chris Wilder getting sent off for booting the ball into the home fans. He booted the ball at his own fans and was sent off. And yeah, I think at half-time, the world was sort of falling apart because obviously Tyrese Campbell, who I mentioned on the podcast, we need to stop mentioning opposition players, by the way.
Because they score.
Ones to watch because they always turn and score. But yeah, Tyrese Campbell scored from a tight angle. And at half-time, it was looking worrying. But yeah, they managed to turn it around in the second half and held on. And, Joshua Kwashi's defending for that for the goal was... Yeah, it was shocking. Yeah, it was shocking. And I wondered if that would maybe lead to him coming out of the team on the weekend. But
well, I was surprised because I thought that would be the first change. I didn't think he covered himself in much glory. And I thought that might be the reason that he has then to bring in. Maybe if Jack Stevens was fit, perhaps he would have brought him in instead.
Yeah.
But I thought Harbour Bellis would have been back in at the weekend, but obviously not.
And I think Kouachi will probably keep his place in the team by proxy of being absolutely massive now, because now he's lost Ross Stewart. I can't see him wanting to lose any more height in the team. So if he does make the change to a 4, I think it'll be Ronnie Edwards on the chopping block, unfortunately for him. Even though Kouachi, like I say, hasn't been, completely sort of imperious and stellar. But yeah, it's a big win on the road. It feels pointless talking about it now, but it was a big win on the road. It was good at the time. And I think people who travelled enjoyed it.
Like every single positive that came out of it, Martin, is kind of like irrelevant now, because obviously normally we'd be talking about Ross Stewart scoring twice in, was it 7 minutes, I think, in the second half. Decent goal as well, nearly breaking the net. And that would have been a positive had at the weekend not happened.
Yeah, I think if you said a week ago you're going to pick up 4 points from the 2 away games, you would have probably taken it. But the fact that we won the game against Sheffield United, you thought, oh, do you know what? If we could go and get another win on Saturday, it would have looked a really, really good week, and it would have put everybody in such a good mood going into the international break. I was chuffed to bits for Ross. I think every Southampton fan was. We all want him to do well. We all know he's had a horrific time. It's been really tough, and he seems like a really grounded individual. Whenever you hear him interviewed and spoken to, he comes across really, really well. And to see that second goal go in, I thought we looked a different player after the goals as well. Like the first goal, he had that little bit of a spring about him, and the second one, like his face was a picture, wasn't it? I think it gave everyone a lift around him as well. And the second goal was just a beautiful goal, wasn't it? Such a good strike, and shows what he can do when he's fit. And I just thought after that, here we go. He looked the business. I was looking forward to his performance yesterday, and obviously, he started well, and obviously the injury. But yeah, there was a few positives. But again, it wasn't one of those performances where we looked really convincing. Not really. I was surprised with the missed penalty because he's so good from the spot. But I'm loving the form of Armstrong at the moment. Him playing in that right side, it's lovely, and he can play on either. And he's just an important player for us at this moment in time. And he's scoring goals, and he have to remain in the team because he's the one man that we all probably thought at the start of the season he wasn't going to be that the player that we probably thought he was a few years ago. I didn't think he'd have a hunger for it, but he certainly has. I think he showed real professionalism, and I think he sets a good example for a lot of other players around him. I think Cameron Archer needs to step up now because I've not seen enough from Cameron Archer. I think he needs to show more when he plays, and he's spoken to a few people and they were saying the same. He just needs to work hard and get his head down. His opportunity will come, and you'll see what he did at Middlesbrough a few years ago. He can score goals. He knows where the back of the net is, and hopefully it'll come for him as well. And yeah, we can continue to build. But yeah, I enjoyed the win. It was nice. That winning feeling is a nice feeling, isn't it? When you've had a season like we had last year.
There's a few incidents to chat through, Glenn. I thought the Adam Armstrong missing the penalty was interesting just for the fact that he'd done, I don't know if you saw the social media video with either, was it one of the sponsors or one of the media channels about taking penalties and how confident he is. And
with Troy Deeney as well.
Troy Deeney telling the keeper which way he was going and still slotting it away. So I thought that was quite ironic. But was it a penalty for you? Because
100%. I can't take anyone seriously who thinks that wasn't a penalty. I'm sorry, I just can't. It's just like you're just being a troll. So the bottom line is the goalkeeper's come launching out. He hasn't got the ball. He's made contact with the striker who had absolutely nowhere to go. Nudged the ball past him. Gone. What part of that makes it not a penalty? Just give up. And that enraged Chris Wilder so much, even though we missed the bloody thing, he still felt the need to punt a ball in the crowd out of anger. I mean, I've read one thing. I don't know if this is true or not, but they apparently got nearly £500,000 worth of fines last year with Chris Wilder in charge for various acts of indiscipline.
Well, things he said at press conferences,
moaning
on the dugout.
So I mean, what? It shows what he brings to the party, doesn't it? So he's been back for 2 games and he's already been sent off for booting the ball at one of his own supporters.
But they're over the moon that he's back, aren't they?
He's a good manager. He's a good manager. He's obviously a character, but he'll sort them out, won't he? I mean, they obviously lost on the weekend, to be fair, again. But yeah, he'll sort them out. I mean, Glenn, did you read the assistant manager did his press conference as well? And, I'm certain he's got himself banned as well. That must be coming because I think he was saying that the game was too big for the referee and that he's never managed the championship. He shouldn't be in the championship. He was saying that the referee can't count to 10, and does anybody explain that, how a referee can't
Oh,
count
the
to 10?
wall.
And then he stopped the press conference. He said, "Right, I'm pause there, guys." He turned to his press officer and said, "Am I allowed to say this? Can I get banned for saying this?" And he was like, "Yeah, you could get banned." He was like, "Okay, we'll stop there then." He was like, "Well, did you not know that?" Like, obviously, but yeah, very funny.
Brilliant. And the disallowed goal at the end as well, Glenn, that the equaliser before that was a foul on the keeper, right? So
yeah, fine. I mean, when I saw it in real
biggie.
time, I just thought, oh, Quasi's let the ball go over his head, and the 5'6" guy has scored behind him. Yeah, I just thought that's awful. And then you see one replay is all it takes to see. I think it's Tom Cannon has got two arms around McCarthy. He's in a bear hug, and he kind of falls in the goal with him. And it's just like, again, why are you even arguing? Yeah, I mean, the referee got a couple of things wrong during the game. He gave some infuriating stuff in the middle of the park where
everything was a foul.
Like,
everything was a foul.
Yeah, everything was a foul. And then Josh Quasi barges the guy in the middle of the back, and that's a clear foul, and he doesn't give that one.
Potential red card as well.
But your potential red card because he's nowhere near the ball. So I can understand them being annoyed about that one, but the penalty, the disallowed goal, and the Chris Wilder thing, the referee's got all those spot on. I don't see how you can really complain about it. And they obviously weren't that bothered about that referee's performance at EFL Towers because he did the Sheffield Wednesday Coventry game. So they obviously didn't see anything in his performance to make him stand down or anything like that. So I think it's just Sheffield United being Sheffield United, to be honest.
And was Shea Charles' brother in the away end? Did I read that as well? He's is he keeper at Wednesday? He was cheering him on from the away end as well, which I thought was pretty cool. Player of the week, I guess both games really. Nathan Wood won last week, so no surprises there. Few contenders, I reckon, despite the fact that we've all said it's been a disappointing week, but a couple of standout performances. Alfie, who makes the shortlist for you?
Yeah, I'll tap in for Ross Stewart, clearly, because he scored the 2 goals that won us the game on Tuesday, and he forced a save quite early on Saturday. He set up Ryan Manning for a really big chance, which he missed in the first 5 minutes. He laid on Adam Armstrong for the goal, and everything fell apart when he went off. So, yeah, Ross Stewart.
I'd imagine if he does win, that'd be the first time he's probably been nominated. Glenn?
Alex McCarthy.
Yeah, I was going to say Alex McCarthy.
Just performance over the 2 games. Goalkeeper that saves shots, always useful. Let's go with that as the blueprint going into the future.
Anyone else, Martin? Alex McCarthy, Ross Stewart, 2-horse race, or
throw Armour in there?
Yeah, of course.
He's in good form. He's playing well. He's an important player. He's wearing the armband. He looks as fit as he's looked for a long time as well. So definitely throw Adam Armstrong in the mix.
And I think you've got to throw Nathan Wood in there as well, then, if you're making it 4.
Could be 2 weeks in a row.
Nathan Wood, especially on Tuesday. He was fine on Saturday as well, but especially for Tuesday.
Anything else on Tuesday? Anything we missed from that? I think we've kind of covered most things.
No, that's it. We're done.
All good. So we have got the international break, and then it'll be Swansea at home. It's a lunchtime kickoff. It's another start of a 3-game week, Glenn. It's going to be a big game. It'd be interesting to see what they've been working on over the break, because you could say that it's come at a really bad time because we just want to get out there and get playing. But equally, you might have time to think about a few things.
Yeah, I mean, Swansea have been a average championship side for a few years now. The last 2 times we played them in the FA Cup, of course, last year, and managed to win with Ivan Juric in charge. So that's a big thing. Wow. And that was relatively comfortable, 3-0. And the last time in the championship was 5-0. So they're a team that in recent times we've put away quite comfortably, especially at home. So I don't really know how different they are, whether they've got any vestiges of Russell Martin ball in the way they play still.
Scar tissue still.
So did you mention who their manager is, Glenn?
Alan Sheehan.
Yeah. So he's the former assistant of Nathan Jones.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I think he was in charge for the FA Cup game last year. I might be wrong on that, but yeah, I think he might have been as a caretaker. But they seem to have been better this year slightly than they have been. They're higher than us in the league, so that's one thing. So you can't, you certainly can't take it for granted. So I think it's a big game for the morale of everybody, especially the fans. You know, it's a home game. We need to put on a performance at home. Obviously, you can't help it if you get 2 away games scheduled, but you know we've done very, very little in the home games. We obviously did very, very little in the home games last year. So it's been very slim pickings for the vast majority of our fans who turn up to home games. So yeah, I think it's very important from that point of view to you know get people on side again, and we need to put on a decent performance in this game. And what we look like team wise is obviously what Will Still's remit is for these next 2 weeks before the game is to make sure we get that right. I think we have about 4 or 5 players away, don't we? International
It's
duty.
not many. Is that? I don't think it's not like the whole squad like it used to be. But
No,
that's kind of testament as to where we are and who we've signed again.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah. Do you want to name one of the away players that's going to score, Alfie?
Yeah, I can.
We can't get score predictions right, but
there's a couple. To be fair, there's a couple. They've got a striker called Vipotnik, who I don't know if he scored in the last couple of games, but he certainly scored in the first 5 or 6, and he's sort of up there on the Championship top scorer charts. They bought a striker from Celtic for £7 million, the magic number. Adam Eder from Celtic, Irish international, and he was struggling, I think, to get into the game, but he scored a penalty in their last game. So they've got a couple of players who are fit and firing. I think they've also got a lad called who's Liam Cullen, or maybe Josh Cullen, who's I think Swansea rate him quite highly as well. So they've got some decent attacking players. And to be fair to Swansea, they've scored goals this season. They've scored a lot of goals, but they've also not kept a clean sheet since August. So I think it could be another open one. I don't know too much about how they play. I don't know if you sort of have done any research yourself, Martin, about exactly how they line up, how they play, but their games have been open, 2-1s, 3-1s, 2-0 once. So yeah, it should be interesting.
And Martin, what are you expecting from us? Are you thinking that you might end up going with the preferred system, the one that we signed the players for, and sort of revert back to the 4?
Yeah, it's a big decision what he does formation wise, but I think just without Stewart, he has to find somewhere to fit the key players in the match winners. You have to get match winners on the pitch, and the only way we're going to get them in rhythm is to start winning games. I like to see us dominate a game. I like to see us to get a hold of a game and really go after a team. I'm not convinced we've got the players to really dominate games like we did before. Like last time around in the Championship, we had some really good players. Shea Adams, he was tremendous up front, and it just shows you what though at the time a lot of us didn't rate him. But having someone like that and what he can do in the side is incredible. I think the block of fixtures is tough. Like when you look at the fixtures on paper, it's
Bristol
really
City away on
tough games.
Tuesday.
Yeah, and then it's Blackburn away, back at home against Preston on the 1st of November, QPR away, again that's midweek, followed by a game against Sheffield Wednesday at home on the Saturday. So you look at that block of fixtures and there's going to have to be a turnaround. Certainly like what back Glenn up and what he said about the home form. I keep getting messages in my inbox about tickets. So obviously it's going to get harder to fill the stadium if there's not performances at home. So
you mean adverts, that as in like tickets are on sale kind of thing?
Yeah. Like on my season ticket, add another ticket. I keep getting them now. So, and I did have a look because my girlfriend's pretty keen to come to the Swansea game. I was looking, there's a lot available. So inevitably it's a really big block of games, and just need to find the formation that's gonna start seeing us dominate games like in the top end of the field. Because we're having a lot of possession, but it's at the top end. We've got to find a way to fill the box and score goals.
What's with the early kickoff as well? Is it on Sky? Is it on TV? Because it's a 12:30 kickoff, isn't it?
They televise a batch, don't they? I think it's half the league. They pretty much televise every game, I think.
That's why
it's the Russell Martin derby, and the police are worried about it. The long history of antagonism between Saints and Swansea, obviously.
Well, he could be back in Swansea potentially this time in 2 weeks because he's certainly not going to get Rangers.
That's a big call.
No, he won't. He obviously won't be, but he's not going to get Rangers. Let's be honest. Did you see that he had to get like police escort out the ground today, and like he left separately to the Rangers team bus. He left in his own car.
I assume they lost again.
They drew 1-1 at Falkirk. He's got 8 points from 7 in the Scottish Prem. something like that. Yeah.
We'll do some predictions for the Swansea game. I must say, last week on the predictions league that we run online, we had over 140 entries, 9 correct results, 9 people saying there'd be a draw, 4 people predicted the 1-1. So if you've got your account, you can log in and you can play along with the predictions. Glenn, are we going to see goals?
It's hard to imagine. So as it's 2 weeks away, I want to go away with a warm fuzzy feeling about the
Positive
prospects
spring
of
in your step.
this Swansea game. Yes, and we will find a way to attack either with or without Ross Stewart, and we will win 3-0. Come on!
Wow. Okay, I wasn't expecting that.
Did I sound convincing?
It did. Yeah.
It felt complete bollocks when I was saying it.
I won't push you for who's going to score. Alfie?
Well, I think the safe money is a 1-1 draw, but I will try and retain some optimism for now, and I'll say a 2-1 win off the basis that there'll be goals for both teams. Neither team capable of keeping a clean sheet, really. But you've got to fancy Saints to edge it at home. And so I think we need to have a bit of a wider conversation about Will Steele maybe at some point. And I know this maybe isn't the right forum to do it now, but I think I've been on record that I think people who are saying, let's change the manager now as if that's going to solve anything is way too far, over the mark. I don't think that we're in that territory at all. Just because you change a manager, like at the end of the day, you've got the same players, same problems, and it's not going to solve itself overnight. And I think that I can see some bits of progress in what Will Steele's doing. But he is at a point now where, we played 9 games. He's had the players that we all know are top championship players bought for him. He does need to start winning some games. He does need to find some solutions, and it's not easy for him because without Ross, he's found the solution with Ross Stewart. So the way that they build up, it's and now he's got to do it again. But you look at a front three of Adam Armstrong and Leo Cienza, Finn Azaz, let's make it a front 4, Tom Fellows. There are a lot of managers in this league that would absolutely love to have that, and there are a lot of teams that are a lot higher than Saints who've got a lot worse than that. So I like Will Steele. He's got loads of time in my books, but there is a bit of pressure there. It does have to improve. It does have to get better. He's got a good squad. He has to work out the solutions. He can't go long to Ross Stewart anymore, which is what we all said he wanted to do, and he's made that clear. But he's got to do something else. He's being paid to do it, and the pressure will slowly build. So yeah, there's a bit of time. There's a bit of time for him, but I just want to say that.
I think, but you're in that situation where it's either you want him to stay or you want him to get sacked, and that's we're in that society where you can't sort of have an opinion or sit on the fence and be a little bit of both. But
I just think that you look at clubs like Bournemouth, and we're talking about how brilliant Bournemouth are and how well they're doing. Yes, the recruitment is a million times better, and that's obviously a big factor. But also they have a manager who's quality. But the players and there's a clear identity, there's a clear culture. The players know what they need to do. Andoni Iraola is the manager. He plays this way, and everyone can come in and they can slot in seamlessly. You buy a left back from France, Adrien Truffert, and he slots in, replaces Kirkes overnight. I don't know who they bought a centre half alongside Senesi. I don't even know who he is, but presumably he's doing well because they've got clean sheets coming out their ears. But the point is, you do need time and stability to get that and to build that. So I don't think we can go chopping and changing managers constantly and expect it to get better. It's it's going to get muddled. Every time there's a free manager season, we get 12 points or 20 points, whatever we got the last time.
But you are right, but it's okay for us as fans. I think you don't have to be Will in or out. It is okay just to do. I just want him to do a bit better.
Exactly.
Because he's got the squad. They've signed decent enough players. We could talk about Damien Downs for an hour or so, but he's got decent enough players to be better than where we are at the moment in the league. And the problem I think he has is that he just doesn't have. He's not come in with lots of experience where he's played football at the highest level, or he's got teams that have been promoted. He's still young and proving himself. So for all the reasons that we're not sure about some of the signings, it's the same with the manager. They've gambled on someone that's quite young and doesn't necessarily have the experience. So we're probably asking the questions of Spurs and the people that brought him in. But I think it's okay to say, this is a big couple of weeks for him. He's got to go away and have a think about it and come back with some solutions.
Because the fans want results. Fans want results. Inevitably, no one's got any patience in the game. I like him, and
before you get into your spiel, before you get into it, just like Iraola, the point I was making, I forgot to say, he lost his first 5 games, 6 games, was it?
Yes,
how many games did he lose? And that was the point I was meant to make. He lost 6 games, and now it's built from there.
Yeah, and you can't keep chopping and changing managers. Fans are the ones that talk, and everyone wants instant results. But you have to look at where we were a year ago and the damage that was done. I know he keeps talking about it. I don't think he can keep spilling that. Last year and the scar tissue.
Agreed,
I think there's a point where that's got to stop.
Yeah.
But it is an extremely difficult job. He's got some good players at his disposal, but he's got to make it click. And hopefully the fans will give him time. I think the Sport Republic will give him time. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They'd be absolute fools not to. And
I think also
when he went in.
If Johannes Spors sacks his first manager after 10 games, then
he's
it's
got to go as well.
It's an indictment of him. If you leave Will Still in and he's still bad in 20 games, it's an indictment on Will Still. So
I would like the answer to one question though, is that Will Still obviously wants them to play fast, and high energy and fast attacking football. Why, apart from the first 20 minutes against Derby, why is our attacking play so bloody slow?
Yeah,
that's something. Is that the players not doing what he wants, or is it he thinks the players aren't good enough to play the way he wants, or there's just, you just took the end of that Derby game as an example. There just seemed to be no urgency to get in the other half, to turn the other team around, to make things happen in and around the penalty area. The opening 20 minutes compared to the last 20 minutes, what happened? Obviously you lost a player, but surely you've been training all week to try and play a certain way, to pass the ball forward quickly, to for people to be mobile and move around all the time and drag defenders around, and it just stops. Someone said at the start of the show about we seem to be able to put together the odd 10-15 minutes, and then other than that it's just so slow and dull, and that would be, if I could ask Will Still one question, that it would be that why did we suddenly sort of like fall off of what we're obviously trying to do, and what his blueprint is from his previous clubs? Why does it happen like that? So, and ultimately, I mean, it may well be that the players just aren't capable of doing it. Yeah. But it's always the manager who gets sacked.
Yeah, because you can't sack 20 players, can you?
No, you can't, because otherwise Man United would sack 20 players and keep a manager for longer than 6 months. But I just, it's slightly mystifying at the moment why, given that we have got a stronger squad than most of the teams in and around us, that we're not able to play the way Will Still wants us to play, unless that has changed.
There's a lack of urgency, isn't there?
There does seem to be, and we seem to have no clue really about how to play through teams or around teams or over teams that concentrate on defending.
Yeah.
I mean, Derby's defence, as I said at the start, not great. Not great. Sanderson and Clark, I mean, do me a favour. You'd be mortified if you had those two as the centre halves. But, their second half was relatively comfortable. And you just can't have that against teams in the Championship who you should be beating.
Well, I mean, with the difference in the half in possession, right? So, I mean, they had 56% of the ball in the first half and about 70% of the ball in the second half. And I think that basically they're crap with the ball in terms of going forward. So that stat that you mentioned, Martin, earlier in the show, I think compared to Derby, I think they had 3 times as many passes in their own half, their own defensive third as Derby, but only about 5% more passes in the final third. Yeah. So there is a clear trend that Derby are getting the ball out of their half and up into the other end of the pitch quickly, and then they're playing their football there. But don't get me wrong, if you look at the stats on the whole season, Saints are pretty high up in terms of getting the ball into the final third, getting the ball into the attacking half, and they're pretty actually middle of the range for passes in their own half. So the stats over the season don't suggest that they're knocking it about their own defence constantly. It does seem to be a slightly newer problem, and I do think it stems from that. They don't know how to break down a deep line block without a big man to aim for, I suppose. And that's a challenge for Will Still, because when he's been managing teams like Stade Rennes and RC Lens, ultimately they're coming up against teams that are trying to impose themselves on them and are trying to attack them. And we saw that against Liverpool. When Liverpool stepped up, tried to impose themselves on the game, we found space in behind constantly. So I think it's a big challenge. I think he's got two big challenges, Will Stowe. He's got sorting out the striker problem, and he's got, like you said, Glenn, just how do you get them to play forward quickly, behind, in space? And I think they've got to give the ball away. I think to do that, they have to give the ball away. They need to play up the pitch quickly, have a shot, try and take someone on and lose it, and then counter press. Let them have an attack, let them come out and then break on that as well. So I think it could start to look quite ugly. But I think we need the opposition to have more chances. I know it sounds stupid, but we need to have opportunities to counter and to break. Always got to change the way you want to play altogether, which is obviously a much bigger job.
Martin, your final thoughts on the Swansea game, a prediction from you as well. I mean, is this the one where we kind of turn it around? Because if it is a 1-1 draw, then it's these arguments aren't going away, are they? We're going to be chatting about the same things.
I think we'll win it. I'm going to be positive. I get all my predictions wrong. I don't think I've got anything I've predicted this season right, to be quite honest. Yeah, I think we're going to comfortably win. Yesterday, I got it so wrong. Went to Hull, got it wrong. I think it will be. It could potentially. We're a game away from kicking on. I keep on saying it. We're a game away, but I thought that was going to be Sheffield United. But I'll go with a win. I don't think it's going to be loads of goals. I don't think there's going to be loads of goals in our games this season because I don't think we're going to score enough. My worry is that we're going to let too many in, and we're always going to need to score 2 goals to win a game. But if Maka could keep a clean sheet, go with a 1-0 Saints win.
Wow, bold. I would say there's an interesting stat I put in the TSP patrons chat yesterday that no team has scored in more games than Saints, I don't think, this season, apart from maybe Coventry. They've scored in 8 out of the 9 games. It's just they conceded 2 in most of them or 1 in most of them as well. But they have actually scored in every game. It's which is more petrol on the point that Glenn says, which is we score 1 goal and then it seems to slow down. Then it seems to sit back off. And I can't believe that would be directive from Will Steele. So I will ask him about that, but I can't believe that's the message. That has to be the players. It has to be the mentality, but we can't keep saying it's the mentality. Otherwise we get into Russell Martin territory.
We've done it in both games this week. You know, we've scored a goal and then it's been like 5 minutes of absolute carnage straight afterwards because it's like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Now,
it's like a game, surely, but is it that simple?
Yeah. Well, you would think so, but you know, maybe I hate talking about this scar tissue thing, but maybe it is.
We need a merchandise range.
I mean, is it a surprise that we can't manage a game? When was the last time we managed a game 1 goal up with half an hour to go? And you know, that Sheffield United game, yeah, we got away with it, but I mean, God, that was more by luck and judgment, wasn't it? But how often have we had to do that recently? You know, probably since most of these players have been at the club. You know, what do we do? What do we do when we're 1-0 up with half an hour to go? Well, we never are, so we don't need to practice that.
It doesn't matter. I want to ask you about the under-21s in a minute, Alfie, because they are doing all right and they are.
You're going to ask me which striker we should bring up and replace Damien Downs with?
No. But if you want to think about that, that's fine. I mentioned the women's team as well. Good win today away at Birmingham, up to 5th in the table. Atlanta Primus scored, who is sponsored by TSP. So shout out to her. If you haven't seen Chloe Peplow as well with the second goal, a lovely chip of the keeper from quite a way out. It's worth watching online if you can see that. So well done to them. As I say, up to 5th. And the under-21s, I think, made it 6 matches unbeaten. They did beat Derby 4-1 at St Mary's. I guess I'm more interested, Alfie, what sort of style and formation they're playing. We haven't got a clue really what the first team are trying to do. Is there more of a clue from watching the under-21s? Are they playing with a 4 at the back?
No, you wouldn't be surprised that the under-21s are playing the same shape and system as Will Steele. It's that the 3 flat 4 and then 2-1. It's the same shape, but they pass the ball around at the back, Russell Martin style, a lot more. Like there is, some really some technically brilliant moments, to be fair, like inviting pressure in their own box and knocking it between them, and it looks a bit nervous at times. We've got scar tissue and all this sort of stuff, but they always seem to find a way out, and they actually scored their second goal from that. A couple of passes in the box under pressure, the keeper gets pressed, they play it, and then it's 2 passes up and they score. So they play the 3-4-2-1, but they do play it slightly differently. They try. It's not quite as direct. It is more of the sort of football that you'd expect to see. But I think that's normal in under-21s because you can afford to do that. You don't get sort of quite so brutally punished. What I really like about their team at the moment is they've got this 3-pronged attack. that is firing. They've got all the bits they need. Moses Cisse on the one side, Romeo Akachukwu, who really is the star of the show at the moment. He played a lot of football over the last 18 months because he never had a break. He played all the way through the Irish season, then all the way through the 21s, all the way to the final of the Premier League 2 competition. He's had a break and he looks like really fit. He looks clinical, he's sharp. I think he scored 3 goals, set up 3 goals in 6 games. And then, we know Moses is good. We saw him for the first team. And Nick Oyakunle, Moses is a great player. He plays as a right winger here. He's a versatile player, can play left back, can play right wing, play in all the midfield. He's a brilliant player. And I think that we see in the past, Tyler Dibbling had half a season brilliant in 21s, had a pre-season with the first team, then had a full season with 21s, and then he broke into the first team. And I'm hoping that Joe Robertson did the same thing. I'm hoping that Moses Cisse follows the same path. He had a brilliant half season last year, first team pre-season, and now he's having a brilliant full season, hopefully. And maybe next season he breaks into the first team. But they've also got Nick Oyakunle up front, who is the striker that people are going to be asking to bring into the first team rather than Damien Downs. He's broken all records in the under-18s. He's literally the highest scorer in under-18 Premier League history at any club. He's got more goals at that level. And now he's finally stepped up to the 21s. He's playing every game. He's scoring every game. He scored on the weekend as well. They've got a really good team, a lot of young lads to look forward to, and maybe one of them will follow in Joe Robertson's steps next season.
That's why it's crap that we're out of the cup, isn't it? Because that would have been a great opportunity.
And the problem is, you want to bring Damien Downs into the 21s and play him and give him those minutes.
Who'd you take out?
Well, at the end of the day, he is the priority because they spent £7 million on him. If we can get him already, that is more important. But I don't want to take Nick out of the team to play Damien Downs. Do you know what I mean? Nick's development is also just as important. So it's a tricky one for Saints.
Our other regular feature now is players that we've let go or sold that are doing all right. Did you see Don Ballard score at the weekend? I think it's 3 and 5 now. That was
James Bree.
Yeah, James Bree. And someone did message me, I don't have it to hand, about Jan Bednarek, we mentioned last week. I think they're doing right. They're only conceded like 1 goal in 5 games or something.
Top of the league, and he's played every game.
Yeah.
My new favourite feature.
Ivan Juric, he's still unbeaten. Ivan Juric is still unbeaten. Maybe we're the problem. I think we've got to probably accept that, haven't we?
We're the Man United of the South.
Yeah, there you go.
On that bombshell, don't forget you can follow the Total Saints podcast on all the social media platforms. It's at Total Saints Pod. You can also check out the merch store as well. As I said earlier on, skip back and you'll find the code. We're doing the free delivery this weekend. It's shop.totalsaints.co.uk. We're also on Patreon. That's where you can support the podcast with your monthly contribution. Just visit patreon.com/Total Saints Podcast. Each of the tiers comes with different perks, including some shout outs for patrons in our Francis Benali and our Mick Shannon tiers. So thank you to Dave Melton, Andy Hollis, Anthony Thompson, Gavin Ford, James Harron, Nicky Nicholson, Peter Montalabo, Southampton NY, Drew Dyer, James Kibbe, Red 76 Tax, Michael Blackmer, and David Mansell. They're in our Francis Benali tier. And also thanks to Nick Reed, Dave Ernsberger, Nick Hingston, Phil Cook, Jonathan Cooper, Colt Baker, Anthony Thompson, Matt Hall, Mike Etheridge, Phil Horstrup, Mark Littlewood, James Bobin, John Bevan, Frank Thorpe, John Peacock, and Andy, who are all in our Mick Shannon tier. Thank you to Podcast Associates and to Steamtown Brewery for sponsoring TSP this season. Thank you to Glenn, to Alfie, and to Martin. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we will see you again.